All right. Let's see if that worked. That better worked. I'm not hearing sound, folks. Oh, these things, Let's see if we can figure this out. Okay, input pro webcam. We got the camera on. Hey, we're getting there. Just trying to get my microphone working. Let me know if you can hear me. I just had to switch from a mic to my camera's mic. So all right, just trying to get my sound set up for you because it always runs this way when I first get going. Always seems like my sound is struggling. So, can you hear me? I'm taking that was a no. Hmm. All right, not that one. Still trying to work out, make sure sound's working for you guys. So, loud and clear, right on. Timothy, I appreciate your telling me that because I was sitting here going, well, if no one's going to tell me, I won't know if you can hear me or not. It doesn't work really well to do a live when you can't be heard. So, awesome. Thank you. Just going to sit here and BS a little bit while we wait for some folks to join us. It's been a little while. I was doing lives fairly regularly for a while there, but you get busy and it's hard to do. So I try to do them about every other Tuesday if I can, or every other Sunday. God, Tuesday, what's on my mind? Tuesday's on my mind. Tuesday's when my laptop's supposed to arrive. I finally decided to break down and spend a few bucks and get a laptop that I can actually edit video on the road, which I will be on the road soon. So that really helps. But so Tuesday's on the mind. It's not Tuesday yet. Thursday can't come fast enough, though. Thursday is going to be a good day for me. All right, just kind of checking systems here and waiting to see who joins and see who's bothering me while I'm waiting for folks to join because I get that all the time. Okay, set that out of there. All right, well, we got a few of you here. We're just waiting for folks to join. So thanks for joining. I see Timothy's here. Be sure to drop your comment down below. Say hi. Let me know who you are, where you're at, all that good stuff. I try to remember everybody that joins regularly, but if you're new, that really helps that I know. But kind of helps to know who's here. And of course, if you've got questions, you can drop them at any time. I usually wait a little bit and get a few more folks joining, so we'll try to do that. But honestly, I don't wait that long for other folks to join. So if you've got questions, I'll always start to get those as soon as I can. And I'll give a little bit of a channel update. Got some good news. Well, I think I got lots of good news for you. So, and lots more content. If you've been watching my channel, especially if you've been around a while, you know that I was milling like crazy and making videos like crazy up until the end of October of last year. And then all of a sudden, everything slowed down. I was putting out 3 videos a week, and then I got down to 1 video a week most of the time. I think I probably missed a week or two, here and there. Sometimes I got 2 in, but for the most part, volume went way down. Shorts went way up because I could do shorts while I was working. And I wasn't able to put out the content that I normally put out as often as I like to put it out. Well, guess what? That is about to change, folks. It is about to change in a big way. So, cheers to that. I am excited. I am done with this latest endeavor that I took on last fall. And it was going to be a year, then it was going to be 6 months, then it was going to be 9 months. Well, 9 months, folks, it's just about done. I've got about 3 or 4 days. 4 days? 4, depending on what I work. And then I'm done. So I'm excited about that because that means more content. And I filmed today. I've got stuff I filmed up at the cabin a week ago. I've got more of the Kevin Bale stuff out there. I've got so much other content that's just sitting right here ready for me to film. stuff that I think you guys are going to like. You're going to want to see it. It's good stuff. It's mostly sawmilling or sawmill related stuff, but there's going to be some other stuff in there too. And in fact, today I'll talk a little bit about what went on today, because if you've watched my channel, you know I had some sawmill trouble. Well, I think, crossing fingers, I think we got it solved. So stick around for that. But while I'm waiting to see if we get anybody else here, I mean, I started early. I always do, folks. So if you're wondering, I always say I'm going to start at 5:30, and then usually around somewhere between 20 after and 25 after, I start trying to I go live so I can make sure that the sound is working and everything's working. There's nothing worse than starting a live and you've got no sound. and you know, the way YouTube works is if I cancel the live and start a new one, nobody gets the notifications. You don't know it. So you could have 20 people waiting on a live, and if the sound doesn't work and I have to stop it and start over again, well, then they leave, and you know, you lose your audience, and that's not a good thing. So I only have 3 of you right now. I'd like to get a few more, but you know what? I've started with less than that. So that's how it goes. And the way I look at it is, there's 3 of you out there. That means you 3 get to ask all the questions. So don't be shy about it. How are all the prerequisites for the ablation going? So that's an interesting topic. I've completed the prereqs for it, and I have a meeting on Thursday. Not the main reason why I'm excited, but I have a meeting Thursday to discuss next steps, which would be to schedule that. However, Friday I'm leaving to go on a trip. I'm heading 1,000 miles north to go see my son and our new grandson that we haven't seen. He was born almost 3 years ago now, and so this will be the first chance to see him. He's number 6, and so we're excited about that. We're gonna hook the Jeep up. If you've seen on my community page, I posted some pictures today of getting the camper ready. So we got the camper on the truck. We're gonna hook the Jeep up, and then Friday night, as soon as Darcy gets off work, boom, we're out of here, and we'll go 4 hours north, camp out overnight. Being a busted up old Jarhead, I get free state campgrounds. So we'll just head almost to the border, go into a state campground with hookups, which is where I live. That's a big deal because it's about 100 and I think it's supposed to be 103 today. So, and that's, you know, that's kind of normal weather. It says 101 right now. That's normal weather for out here, but it'll be warm up there on Friday, at least in the 90s. And, you know, I don't sleep well when it's 90 degrees inside a camper. So we go with the generator running all the way up. We'll make the mad dash to Concanoli, hook up at the campsite, have air conditioning, and spend the night there. And then we cross the border, and we kind of try to do the highball route on the way up. I'm getting old though, so I can't do the 1,000-mile days, but we'll do like a 6.5 hour driving day, take our time and do that 2 days in a row to get up there. On the way back, we'll take a little more time coming back. I think we'll take 1 day extra coming back so we can spend a little more time playing the touristy thing. But so as far as the ablation goes, I won't be able to do anything until after I get back, but that's okay, because I had to quit the NSAIDs and I went on a course of prednisone. And when you do that, you got to wait at least 2 weeks after that before you can get an ablation. So everything's going really good. I was walking around really good today. I get a little sore still, but definitely things are going pretty good. And so I'll jump right in. I mean, what time are we at here? Hey, Mike. Hey, happy Bourbon 30. Amen, brother. I saw that new bear story. I'll have to check that one out. I enjoyed the last one. And I've got several of my own. When you and I get together, Mike, we're going to be telling some bear stories. We better put it on camera because they're true. But so, okay. Let me give you some updates here. So channel updates and sawmill updates. So channel-wise, as I mentioned a little bit earlier to you guys, Thursday's a big day for me. That's the end of the project that I've been on. Project's done. I'm out of here, and I go back to being unemployed. So that means I get to put out more content, and I'm excited about that because I have so much content that I want to put out that I haven't been able to put out because I just haven't had the time. And I'm gone 12 hours a day, 4 days a week. So that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. And I've got other sawyers that I'm also going to bring to. So it won't just be me, but I've got others, one with an LT15 that I think I'm going to get a chance to film. So those of you guys that run the LT15s might find it interesting. And this guy makes a living collecting up logs, sawing them up and selling them. So interesting fella, another Marine. And then I have a customer that bought an LT40 super hydraulic with the manual clutch. I'm hoping to be able to go do a little filming there and spend a little time with him. It's been terrible because he bought that mill right around the time that I took this job, and I wasn't able to go help him out on the mill. And his dad ended up dragging it down to California, and I think they've got it back now. So I'm planning on bringing you that. So lots of that stuff's coming up. But then there's some other things. So maintenance on the mill, little bit of an update there. I did the oil change, replaced the spark plugs, replaced the air filters, cleaned the whole thing off, of course, and also put some seafoam in the fuel. And I've never used seafoam before, but I was told to give that a try, blow that system out. Well, let me tell you, it blew it out. What's really weird is it looked like it was blowing some rust out while it was blowing everything else out. So I don't know what it was blowing out of there. However, I still could see what might have been some smoke, and that could have been from the seafoam still, because I haven't run that whole tank of fuel through it. But it was absolutely idling better and running better after just a couple minutes. And I noticed that the gap on the plugs was pretty big, and I didn't have my feeler gauge handy, so I couldn't see what it was, but the new plugs were probably half the gap. And that's a big deal. When anybody that works on engines knows if your plugs aren't gapped right, things aren't going to run right. You're not going to get a good spark. That could cause it to foul up the way it did. So we'll see. But so far, the mill seems to be doing a lot better right now. It's taken me, well, May, June, 2.5 months to be able to do that. So as to Tim's question, things are going actually pretty good despite, but we're actually able to get around and get some stuff done. So I actually filmed all that and some other stuff today, and I'm going to try to get that video out to you next weekend, which will be a rarity for me because I don't usually film and then dump that video out as quickly as I normally do. So that's going to be kind of fun. And I still have more of the Kevin stuff to do. I think one more video, where I'm going to get a chance to really show some of that spalted maple, and I think that'll be fun. And then that'll be the end of those. And then Kevin has a project involving a couple trucks, and I think one's a logging truck and one's a dump truck, and he's going to put them together or something. I don't know. So I told him, well, I might have to come up and film that too. Why not? What the heck, right? So I've got that, and then I've also got some other stuff. If you've watched my channel a while, you know that about a year and a half ago, I had to replace a control panel. And I have always suspected that one of the reasons that happened is I've had lightning off and on up at the cabin around the mill when it was up there. And I started thinking, I worked in telecom for 30 years, and lightning can travel over a mile on the ground, or underground. And your mill is essentially grounded to the ground, right? So if you get a lightning strike within a mile of your mill, it could theoretically cause some issues with the electronics. I'm going to be doing a protection to my mill to prevent that from being an issue in the future, and I'm going to bring that to you. So I've got that. I've got cabin stuff. I've got so much stuff that I'm going to be putting together, and I'm going to have the time to do it. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, for those that weren't here, I bought a new laptop to bring with me on the road so that I can start editing during downtime, or like this trip we're getting ready to take to go see my grandson up north in the morning. I could spend 30 minutes or whatever, an hour, doing some editing before we hit the road, and actually maybe even bring some video to you on the way. So as far as the channel goes, a bunch of stuff coming up, lots of changes happening. I think you're going to enjoy that. So there's that. Sawmill wise, I have a job that I still need to do for a friend of the family. It's I think he's got about 8 logs. And now that the mill seems to be running up a bunch better, I've got to get it over there. And as much as I don't like to mill in the middle of August here in the Tri-Cities, I'm going to have to do it. So hopefully we can get a little bit cooler weather and get out there. And for those that don't know, the Tri-Cities is the southeastern part of Washington State, and it's actually high desert. Most people think of Washington State as the evergreen state, right? Bunch of green trees and lots of rain. Not so much. We're on the everbrown side. And so it's just desert out here. And 101 today, 102 or 3 or whatever yesterday. That's normal July weather out here. It's crazy because I grew up in the Northwest and I didn't realize, people tell you there's a desert here, but when you live in an area that, summer temperatures are in the 70s and low 80s, you don't realize that there are places up here that are literally desert that get over 100 degrees, sometimes days and days in a row. So I don't like to mill in that kind of weather. For one thing, I don't find the lumber dries that well if it's not well controlled. So, it's kind of one of those things where I usually try to skip August. Just, half of July and all of August, I just try not to mill. But I need to go mill for Joe and get those logs off the deck for him and get that turned into lumber. He's a great guy, awesome woodworker, friend of the family. So we're going to do that. And then I've still got that deck of logs up at the cabin that we did finally get back to and spray down with some Home Defense Max. If the pine beetles got into it, it's not going to stop the larvae. It won't kill them, but it will prevent them. It'll kill them if they haven't got into it yet and they try to get on it. I've had really good success with that. It's not borax or borate, which I can't order for some reason here. And I've even gone on Amazon and tried to order it. I can't. So I've got to find a place locally that I might be able to get some, because that's really kind of weird that I can't order it. But the Home Defense Max works if you get them before they start laying eggs in the wood under the bark. So, and if you get them afterwards, the larva is going to come out, they're going to turn into beetles, and then they're going to die. And that's what I found. So we got up and we did that, did a bunch of work on the batteries at the cabin and some other stuff at the cabin. And I'm going to bring that to you hopefully within a couple of weeks. So I'm thinking I might even be able to edit that on the road. So that'll be kind of fun. And as far as the sawmill goes, it's going to go back to the cabin, and probably I'll mill first here, then drag it up to the cabin, and then I'm going to leave it there for a while. It's something I haven't done in a long time. But what that means is I'm actually going to get to be able to go up there and mill a lot more, because I won't be working. So I'll have time that I haven't had in 9 months. That's going to be good. So there you go. Other than that, I'm probably not going to go out on the road with the mill other than locally or to the cabin for the rest of the year. And that's primarily because between my back issues, I'm trying to lay off a little bit and let myself heal up, see how the ablation does, that kind of stuff. And part of that is I've got to do a lot of stuff at the cabin. I've got to put in a new hot water system. I've got to move the batteries and all my power into the back room, which means I've got to mill up some paneling to finish the back room so that I can put all that in there and then finish the entrance and all that kind of stuff. And I really need to finish the outhouse, so I got a mill for that. So it's going to be, I think you're going to see a little bit more in this coming in near the end of summer, early fall, probably, of cabin saw milling. And that's kind of, if you saw the poll on my community page, now you know why. Part of it is that. And then on my last trip when I was up there, I did some gold panning and had some interesting results. And I've decided that I may incorporate that in some of my cabin sawmilling videos, because you might find it interesting. I did not find gold though, but I did find black sand and garnets and a lot of quartz and a lot of pyrites and that kind of stuff. And so that was kind of exciting. And it was literally just out of a hole I dug that you've probably seen if you've seen my sawmill videos. We've got this big hole we dug to put in a root cellar by the orchard. Well, the orchard got killed by the gophers, and I decided to bury the hole back in and forget it. And I looked at the dirt there and I thought, that kind of looks like the kind of stuff you can get gold out of. And lo and behold, there's definitely placer deposits in there. Whether there's gold or not, we'll see. But I do have gold mines north of me that aren't that far away. Could be fun. So I'll bring that to you too. So there you have it. That's kind of a quick, that was the 15-minute update. So number one, there's 6 of you out there. Drop a comment down below. Let me know who you are, where you're at. And if you've got questions, just throw them out there. I try to answer any questions you have. So if you're new and you haven't been at one of my lives, I told somebody on Facebook recently, just like 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, they asked about Alaskan chainsaw mills. I said, well, guess what? I started with a mill with that. They asked about a 20-inch bar. I said, well, I started with a Husky 455 and a 20-inch bar and a Granberg small chainsaw mill. If you want to ask questions about that, I'm happy to answer them for you. And any sawmilling questions, cabin questions, YouTube questions, you name it, I answer them. So whatever you want to know, what bourbon I'm drinking, I don't care, I'll answer it. So fire away. And if not, I'll come up with something just to BS about while I wait. And Timothy, thanks for being the first one to jump in and let me know you could actually hear me. Also, I thought I would mention something while I'm waiting for questions. Oh, wait, we got one. Bad connection, but I'm here. Oops. Oh, yes. So John, I heard a little birdie told me that you, John, at Davidson's All Natural Gym, met up with a couple goofy brothers and did some sawmilling. And I can't wait to see that. I think that is going to be fun. No, I'm not drinking that with Mountain Dew. I got to try that. I haven't, after your post, I forgot all about it, to be honest with you. This work thing has really got my mind. It's just scrambled. But I might have to try that. I used to do 7 and 7 and things like that. So Mountain Dew and bourbon. I don't have Mountain Dew, but I might have to try that. I just think it's going to be a whole bunch of caffeine with alcohol. So you just be an awake drunk, maybe. I don't know. I don't drink enough to get drunk, folks. Those days are long gone. So, all right. Well, see, you threw me off because I was going to tell you something, but yeah. Let's see. So John and Rick and Tim, that could be an interesting combination. But anyway, all right. So what the heck was I? And so today, the video I'm going to put together for today's, I think is going to be a little bit fun because I had so much to do today. And one of the things that I have found when I went back to work was that I had so little time because I was gone for 12 and a half hours a day that on the days that I could actually get something done, I just hit the ground running early. So at 7 o'clock this morning, I was already repositioning the mill, getting all kinds of different stuff ready to go. I'm telling you guys, I was making bread. I was working on the yard. I was using the pressure washer on the mill, washing the camper and the truck, fixing the mill, getting all the maintenance done on the mill, which I still have the key sitting in it. I got to go out there and get it still. Just all kinds of stuff. And I mean, I hit the ground running and I went from like 7 to noon today, just flat out trying to get everything I could get done while I could still walk, which I am still walking. So that's a good sign. Before it got over 100 degrees. And we did it. Darcy, bless her heart, she was out there too. We were working hard. Got a ton of stuff done. Got the camper on the truck. Camper's all cleaned up and ready to go. Sawmill's all cleaned up. Sawmill's running better. Just got a ton of stuff done. So it's been a good day. If you can't tell, it's been a great day, and that's been something that it's been really hard to do up to this point, because as you guys know, if you have jobs, it can be tough sometimes. So anyway, all right. What questions do we have? That's what this is all about. Honestly, I do these to answer questions or just to BS with you guys. So if you don't have questions, I'll just BS. Talk about Mike Wilson's bear stories, which are, I mean, those are great stories, Mike. But until you can talk about bears sniffing your head, wait, your latest one, I haven't watched that one. All right, this bear terrorizing you. I'd have to watch that. Bears can be pretty terrifying, but all of my stories are rather amusing. I don't know if maybe I just had the right bears around me. I don't know. I mean, bears. I think, yeah, I don't know. I've been. Black bears attack more people in British Columbia than grizzly bears do. Most people think the grizzlies are the ones that you got to worry about. Actually, you got to worry about both of them, but black bears attack more because they have smaller territory. They might only have 1.5 mile territory to a grizzly bear's, 100 miles. And so a grizzly bear, as long as he knows you're there, he can just avoid you and move on down the road. He doesn't really care. Unless, of course, you're in like Wyoming and you killed an elk and you got a big gut pile there, because that's usually when they get a little aggressive. But black bears, they're pretty territorial. So, but and I grew up around black bears, cougars, wolves, and I'm not, it's really funny because I had a friend that I used to commute in the Marine Corps with, Dari Carlisle. Dari grew up in Harlem, New York, and I guess Harlem's New York, right? But and I grew up in British Columbia. You couldn't have picked two different guys to commute to work together in the Marine Corps, I don't think, in terms of where we grew up. And we got along great. I loved Dari. He was a great guy. And we used to mess around with each other a lot, though, right? When we would commute, I listened to classic rock mostly in those days. I guess now we call it classic rock. It wasn't classic then really so much. But what I would do is when Dari was riding with me, I'd put country on because he liked listening to rap. And he would put the rap on. We just mess with each other. But I told him one day, he said, you ought to come visit me in Harlem. And I said, that scares the hell out of me. I wouldn't go there. No way. And he said, why not? I said, you guys on the corners with guns and stuff. And he said, well, yeah, but you got grizzly bears. I said, yeah, but the grizzly bears aren't on drugs. He kind of laughed. He said, "Well, you got me there." You were cutting firewood for the family, and we found a large maple burl. So we made a trip to Two Brothers Outdoors and made some very nice spalted maple burl slabs. It was a short visit, but fun. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys filmed it, because that would be really cool. A lot of fun. I think that's awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. That'll be fun. And I know Rick actually told me. He told me in a reply to one of his posts. So, but anyhow, good times. But we lost a few people. I guess they don't want to hear bear stories. But if they're not asking me questions, I can't answer them. I'll just sit here and drink bourbon. I actually can't wait to see what some of my customers have done with what they have. I have a customer outside of Leavenworth that we keep talking about going out and meeting up with, and I need to do that this summer. But then I have a bunch from last year's road trip. Well, road trips, plural. And I was thinking I need to get a hold of them. So I do have some plans. One, as I mentioned earlier, to get up and see Kevin in his neck of the woods, which is Plummer, Idaho. Well, he's not far from, there's a channel out there. If you're into kind of the homesteading stuff, look up Breaking Free Off Grid. And Breaking Free Off Grid is Tony and Stewart, and they were actually on Homestead Rescue with the Rainey family about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And they're still at that same location, and they're working hard to homestead. And they bought a little sawmill about a year or two ago, and I offered to come out and just kind of help them on their sawmill if they wanted, because they're brand new to sawmilling. Well, we were going to do it, and we've both just been really busy. And then, of course, I took this job, and it's just been crazy. So I'm hoping to get up and see them. And another customer of mine, there's a video out there. It's pretty popular that I did about cutting wide, really wide on a standard mill. And that was done up in Moy Springs, Idaho, which isn't too far from where Breaking Free is. So I'm kind of thinking I need to make like a good long weekend trip where I go up and just try to hit a couple of those customers and bring some of that to you too. So I was so thorough in the beginning. I answered all your questions. Well, probably might have answered yours, but it's really funny. And you guys, I mean, most of you guys here are YouTubers, so you get the whole YouTube challenge. But it is kind of funny because I think sometimes people think, he's just doing a YouTube or whatever. And I laugh, and I know that you guys know. I'll answer any question I can, and if I don't have the answer, I'll find it one way or another. Now, I do want to put together another Sawyer's live, and Mike and I have talked about it. I know others and I have talked about it. Tim or Rick, I think Rick sent me the software they were using, and I just haven't put it on any of my machines yet. So I'm going to do that because I think that was a lot of fun, and it could just be a BS session or it could be a good Q&A. So we're going to definitely try to do some more of that. I honestly thought about trying to doing it like once a month or once every other month, and rotating it between some of you guys. So, Mike and John and Rick and Tim and Andy and Paul, I think it is Andy and Paul, and just different guys that are running mills all the time. And I need to get with Jason too. Jason Hamlow, Northwest Sawyer, great guy, awesome guy. And Jason, actually, I think one of the reasons I really get along well with Jason is we're both similar in that we do all kinds of stuff, right? He's building a cool sawmill truck right now. I don't know if you've seen that. And, so he's just always doing something different. And so I'm kind of the same way. I don't just run a sawmill or build a cabin or, I just do all kinds of things. Like I said earlier, I made bread even. In fact, we're supposed to be canning beans tonight. I probably have to not go too long live so I can go can some beans too. But anyway, so I do these just to try and answer questions, any that I can, and give you guys updates on what's going on. I will tell you, I did get a new camera. So for those interested, I can't tell the difference. Oh yeah, right there. So got another GoPro. I'm up to 4 GoPros now. That one's an 11, and I'm honestly, if you put the 10 and the 11 side by side, the 11 is supposed to be better, and I got it on a screaming deal. And I went ahead and put it in the media mod. Just that's a better way to go. But now, yeah, so now I have 4 GoPros. I ran all 4 today, mostly 3, but I did get the 4th out when I was doing the maintenance on the mill. And that's kind of my goal moving forward, is to always have at least 4 cameras running on the mill to bring more angles of sawmilling for those that like the sawmilling stuff. So anyway, so there you go. What do I think of these little guys? Anybody curious? I think they're a little spendy, and I know there's some cheaper type stuff out there, but I do actually really like them. They're easy to use. They work well. You can use the cloud feature with them and just dump everything straight to the cloud and then draw it down later. I don't normally do that. I usually just pull the SIM cards, drop it onto my machine, and away you go. And they work pretty good. And I've got the 9, 10, 11, and the 11 mini. So, and then with the wife's big camera, I can run 5 cameras plus my cell phone now. And I've done that. You probably saw that recently, 6 cameras in a couple videos. But I will tell you this, I probably won't do that all the time because editing wise, I will have more time to edit soon. But oh my gosh, when you're trying to put 6 camera streams together, I'm doing a Jeep video actually that I started, oh gosh, almost a month ago now. And I just haven't had time to finish it because of work. But it's got, I think, it's got 4 main camera streams, 2 that are broken up, 2 that are steady. And then I've got at least 1 or 2 more camera streams, and I'm stacking them all on top of each other and putting this Jeep video together. And anytime you do that, the more camera angles and streams that you have, the more you can almost rack up, another hour a minute on your editing. So you want to put out a 20-minute video, it could be 20 hours worth of editing to get there. But I'll have more time to do it now, so that's good. Anyway, all right, what else we want to know? What do we want to know today? We've got I can go at least a half an hour longer. Is it burning up out there? You guys all dying in the heat? With the GoPro, do you have to use a vibrational dampening mount to attach to the mill? Nope, not at all. I literally have a magnet mount that I put my GoPro 9 in with it's got a plastic cover that you can put a waterproof door on the back or an open door on the back. I use the open door because I'm not milling in the rain. And I can take that magnet, which is almost too strong. Sometimes it's hard to pull it off. And I can put it anywhere on the mill and film. And so if you're watching my videos and you see a closer look at on the blade going in or coming out of the wood, especially if the camera's moving with the mill, that's on that magnet mount. They have their own anti-vibration system, and it works brilliantly. It works amazing. I will say that's one thing about these GoPros. They just work fantastic. And I run my 9 that way, and my 11 mini, I clamp the 11 mini, which is this little guy here, and it's got feet on the back as well as on the bottom. So you can either mount it directly on like this, or you can mount it the traditional way, like that. The problem with this guy is that the battery's only good for 2 hours. Then you got to charge it again. So and you can't plug it into like a juice box and run it on the juice box separately, because to do that you got to open the door, and that wouldn't work really good on a sawmill. So it's 2 hours, but you can put it on a trigger device. So I do have a GoPro trigger, and I can put this one on the trigger and just click the trigger and then go. I don't like doing that unless it's something that's easy to find in the other video streams later, right? Because otherwise, if I'm just, clicking go when the band enters and exits, I won't know what band entrance and exit that was after 8 hours of milling. I'll have no idea, So what I do with this is I usually run it for 2 hours or close to that, maybe an hour at a time, but usually 2 hours. And then pull it off and don't use it anymore. So if I mill for 8 hours, I'll get 2 hours on this one, and that'll just give me one different angle that I wouldn't normally have. And then it comes off, and I'll charge it up on my Jackery battery power or something, and maybe use it later. So it's only been 100 to 102 here. Well, that's nothing down there. I mean, come on. I tried another action camera to the mill and it couldn't handle the vibration. Yeah, if you haven't tried the GoPros, honestly, I would. And I'm not. You can pick up a 9, and I don't know about the 8s or 7s, but this one's the 9. And I will tell you that the this is the main camera that I use for entering the log. This usually, if there's a camera, sometimes you'll see it sitting there. It'll be in a little clear case on a flexible gooseneck on a magnet. And I'll either set it on the hydraulics box or I'll hang it upside down up above the band, something like that, or I'll twist it around the other side, coming in from the front, unless I'm using the 11 there. And I can put it anywhere. I've actually mounted it under the motor mount. So, like when the motor mount on the LT40, when you disengage the clutch, the whole thing shifts to the left like this. So the camera would shift like that too. And then when you hit the auto start, then it would shift back and it starts, away you go. Well, you'll get that with this, but it won't be nearly what you think. It will almost eliminate even that shifting. That's how good these are. And it's mounted directly under the motor, no vibration, none at all. So I don't have a problem with that one at all. The other two, the 10 and the 11 with the media mods, because of their sound quality, is so much better, and I can plug them into a juice box. I can set this up with a juice box, and as long as it's not in the sun, because when it's 100 degrees out and in the sun, these will shut down after a while. Although now you can run them without the battery inside, which helps keep them a little cooler. But I can run them if it's 70 degrees out, 75 degrees out. I could run these for about 8 hours with a juice box and have one at 2 different angles. So usually the broad angle when you could see the whole mill, that's one of these guys. And now I can just run them, 2 of them, for 2 different angles. And they were good. And then my wife's SLR, digital SLR, I use that too. So, but as far as temperatures go, it's funny. I hear a lot of stuff, but it's been cooler here the last few years. Every year has been cool. We had that one hot year, but that's actually for us. They said it was like 1,000-year, heat wave for the Northwest. For us, it was like normal. It was like, what? It got to 118. Wow, I've seen that before. But this year, I've seen 100 maybe twice. We didn't even see 100 till we were well into July. And normally out here, we can see 100 in May. So it's been awesome. And when we were up at the cabin, it was still really green. So we were up there, I think, on the 10th. And honestly, folks, I did my 50th birthday up there, and that's July 12th. And I did that. So that was 8 years ago. And it was just all the grass was yellow, totally yellow. Everything was dry. And that was normal up there. Mid-July, you're done. You're done until mid-September. That's when the rains start to come back. But this year, same time frame, it's actually really green still. So it probably won't be in another week, but it was really green, and that's really surprising. And that's good and bad, right? It's good. It's green. It doesn't burn as well if the lightning strikes. It's bad because the grass grows taller, so that when the lightning does strike and it is yellow, not good. But I was able to get up and do some fire break work and that kind of stuff. So if you saw a short of me setting up the tractor, that was part of that. That was just a little preview of what's coming for cabin video stuff. But funny thing about that short, if you saw the short that I hook up the brush hog onto the tractor, the truth of the matter is, after I got all hooked up, everything done, PTO wouldn't start. Couldn't get the PTO to work. And I was not happy about that because I had taken the tractor into the Okanagan Truck and Tractor up there in Omak and had them fix some things that were wrong with it. My 4-wheel drive, for example, last year. I got all that fixed. I was all excited about it, but by the time I got the tractor back up there, it was too late to mow. So I didn't get the 3-point out and try it out. Well, it turns out they never fixed the 3-point. Still doesn't work. So I don't know what's going on with the 3-point and why it won't engage. It could be a fuse or a relay, but I tried to get to those, and the dang hood on the tractor's just in that spot that you almost have to pull the hood off, or at least pull the 3-point off to get in there and actually get to them. maybe if I was 30 years younger, I could squirm in there and do it, but I wasn't going to do it this time around. So good old tractor woes. I had to pull the mower off, put the box blade back on, and just start dragging the box blade around and knocking the roads down, building a little bit of a fire break. I got a little bit of that done, not a whole lot, but also got my batteries hooked up. You know, if you've looked at my descriptions at all, I've got some links in there. There's some affiliate links, and one of them is for Battery Evo, and it's actually, I want to say it's like a 15% off, by the way, if you use old Jarhead. But that's not what this is about. But anyway, I've got these three 24-volt LiFePO 4 batteries that I didn't have balanced right when I hooked them up. So I knew I needed to get back up there and try to balance them, but I couldn't get up there when I planned on in the beginning of June because of my back. So we ended up going up, you know, a little bit later in early July, and might have gotten them all balanced. I'm not sure. So I won't know until I get up there next trip. And it's an interesting little thing that if you don't get the voltages right on those batteries, they have a battery module that controls the batteries. They won't parallel. So if I'm trying to run 3 batteries in parallel, I could get 2 of them to work together, but not the third. So it's not like a lead acid battery. You hook them up, you're done. These you need to actually get done right. And I think I did. I hope so. We'll find out. So, but you'll see that coming up as well. But all right, what else we got? What do you want to know? YouTube, cameras, sawmilling, Jeeps, whatever. Making bread. Who wants some sourdough? I was thinking about this. You know, I have that sourdough. Well, not sourdough. I have that bread making channel that I don't actually put anything out on. I did that a couple years ago to help some people out on how to make bread. And I was thinking about that one day, going, you know, I should take some of my excess sourdough and give it to people that want some, you know, like a lot of people make sourdough or want to make sourdough, and they just don't. And I thought I should do that one day. So that's something I might think about doing, is putting together some sourdough care packages. Because if you don't make your own bread, folks, I'm sorry, but it's like making lumber. Once you figure it out, you wonder why you ever bought it. It's kind of part of the reasons why I asked that question about, you know, if you do all these things, or are you as crazy as me, or whatever it was I asked. I'm sure you guys saw that on my community page. I was having fun one day, and I put that on there. You know, do you do all these things? And I was surprised. There's a few of you out there that actually said, yeah, I do all that stuff, or almost. You know, maybe you don't make soap, but if you don't make soap, then you're missing out on something. And it's funny, you know, who cares, right? We're guys. Soap, it's cheap. It's cheap, and it works 10 times better. I love things that are cheaper that work better. That's why I like milling my own lumber. Why buy lumber when I can make it? Well, you know, that just translates into why do anything I can make. So there you go. Is that crazy enough for you guys tonight? Have we talked about enough weird subjects? You're too quiet though, so we gotta have a question out there somewhere. Somebody's got to have a question for me, because I can only talk so long about nonsense, guys. I don't see. Let me just check and see if I had any other questions out. I'm actually planning a trip right now. I don't know how many of you have been all the way north up to Dawson Creek, but soap making video. I can put that on the Jarhead Bakes one. I actually probably should do that. You know, it's funny you say that, but the truth is, it's something I probably should do just for fun. Why not, right? But you know, the thing is it's easy. So, I mean, you know, sure, I wouldn't do it on the sawmill channel. That might not go over quite as well. But you know, maybe I'd throw it in the middle of a sawmill. You know, take a break, make some soap, go back to running the sawmill. But I don't know how far north you've been. So drop down in the chat. Let me know. What's the furthest north you've been? Anybody here been to Alaska? And if so, did you drive? So we're getting ready to drive almost, well, we'll probably make it all the way to Dawson Creek. So Dawson Creek is mile 0 on the Alaskan highway. And our son lives in Chetwynd, which is about 45 minutes kind of southwest or west, maybe just due west of Dawson Creek. And so we're going to get up there and see him. I mentioned that earlier. And I love that drive. You know, it gets harder to make those drives as we get older, but I love that drive. And hey, Joe Main, wow, you're up here late. Joe Main, Joe, I hope that guy with that LT, oh gosh, LT35 or LT15 called you. There was a couple guys on Facebook looking for bands, and I tried to drive them your way because it's kind of funny. I see that all the time. And I should talk about bands. As a matter of fact, I'm going to. And I think I was going to put this in a video, and I haven't done it yet. So you guys might get a preview on bands right now. I see this all the time. How long do you run bands? And how come I'm breaking my bands all the time? Now, the breaking the bands part, I kind of would like to talk to Joe. And Joe, I might have to do a live with you, you and I together. I don't know if you've ever done a video live, but we could do it. Oh, come on, Eric, interview style, like you're in Georgia, I'm in Washington. We couldn't be much further apart, but we could do it kind of the way I did it with Rick and the boys over when we did this Sawyer's Forum. Same software, you just join with a video camera. Because I want to talk about breaking bands, because I see a lot of guys talking bad about wood miser bands. I don't understand it. I have not had any problems with wood miser bands at all, ever. Sure, you break a band now and then, but that's sawmilling, right? That happens. However, wood miser says run your bands no more than about 2 hours, regardless of how much wood you're cutting. And I found this interesting because I had two of them tell me the same day, two different guys, same day. One was the guy that manages their Resharp program, and one was the guy that managed the branch. And he'd been at Wood Miser for 26 years. And he told me, he said, Eric, here's the thing. It doesn't matter how many board feet of lumber you're producing. It's how long the band is in the wood. And I thought, wow, from an engineering standpoint, that made a lot of sense, because the band being in the wood means it's getting hot. It's rubbing between the layers of the wood as it cuts the wood. So it's cutting the wood, which is going to make it hot. It's being drawn through that cut space, exiting all that sawdust. It's heating up. And it doesn't matter how fast it's going or how slow it's going. It's a matter of time before you heat it up too much. And I'm thinking all these guys breaking bands are probably putting bands on their mills. And maybe I'm wrong. So if you know the answer to this, drop it down below and tell me. But I have a feeling they're putting bands on and trying to get 2,000 board feet out of them, or 8 hours or 6 hours or something. And I see a lot of guys that don't seem to want to change the band every 2 hours. And there was something that was said to me a while ago about that. And the guy said, look, if you change your band at about 2 hours, which for me could be anywhere from 500 to 600 or even 800 board feet, depending on what I'm cutting and other factors. But he said, if you change your band every 2 hours, it's pretty much dull at that point. You could push it further, but it's going to mill slower, be poor quality, and you're going to change it anyway eventually. But if you change it out at 2 hours, you're going to go right back to a nice sharp band, boom, and away you go. And you're right back. Your production rate is going to increase right off the bat. And of course, I have done about 2 hours forever. It's just what I've always done. It's not because Wood Miser told me. I just found that worked really well. And the only time I ever ran more than that was when I was milling alone on small sticks that I could run 4 hours on one band because I just wasn't even in the wood that much for that 4 hours. But I will tell you that I think that they're right. You put the band on, you run 2 hours, you pull the band off, take a break, pull the band off, put a fresh band on, and then go gangbusters again. So guide rollers could do it. Let's see, what do we got here? I broke 3 bands in a row a long time ago. It was from a misaligned guide roller. After I fixed that, I haven't broken any since. Knock on wood. But yeah, that's another big one for sure. And that could be, but I see it on new mills too, right? And well, yours probably was kind of new then, but maybe that's it. I don't know. Joe, I don't know if you've got an answer there, but run 2 hours. I'll tell you that right now. If you're trying to run 3 or 4 hours on a band, they're not really cut out to do that. And unless maybe you're running 1 3/4 or 2-inch bands, and Joe would know more than I would. I wouldn't know that because never run them. I run 1 1/4 and 1.5 inches. And I do find 1.5 inches seem to take the punishment more. I can run longer on 1 inch. I actually ran 6 hours on one once. Shouldn't have. But You know, the other thing is talking bad about Wood-Mizer bands. I've been running Wood-Mizer bands for 12 years, 12 and a half years. I don't have any problems at all with them. So, and I don't know, maybe because of my resharp program, they clean them, they inspect them, they resharpen, reset them, and send them back to me. Maybe that, cuts out that frustration of breaking bands because they're making sure I'm not going to run on bands that are, cracking and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that if you take care of the bands, you shouldn't have trouble with them. So anyway, that's just my thought. I'd be curious to see, Joe, what you think about that, and maybe we'd have to do a video together and talk bands. It'd be interesting to talk hook angles and sets and things like that. I know a lot of guys sharpen their own. Now, how about my last video? If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Kevin was running 4-degree double hards. Now, I'm telling you, I have double hards, and when it comes to nails, I hit a nail, the band comes off. I'm done. Kevin plows through a nail, and I don't think it was a 16 penny nail, but it wasn't a small one. It's not like it was just a little finishing nail or something. Plows through a nail, and then went right back at it again with the same band, and I was stunned because you can see the wave in the video. He clearly waved out on that cut, and I even think the next one did too. And then it actually flattened out. He had to push it to get it through it, and then he changed the band out. But you know what? It was a smart move that I often don't do, because as soon as I hit that nail and it dives or climbs on me, I want that off my mill. I want that fresh band on, and then I cut another nail. That's just like, at that point you're thinking, maybe I just should have left it on. Now, bimetals, I've cut through all kinds of nails with bimetals, and they just kept on going. I usually switch them out right away still, but I learned many years ago on my LT10 that if you cut a nail, pull that sucker out and get a very, very close look at that log, because I did one where we pulled all the nails out, swapped the band, I dropped 3 inches and then plowed right through another nail. Couldn't believe it. And then in that video is up there in Moya Springs where I did the widest cuts I could. It was like 27 and 3/4 inch live edge stuff. We hit a nail in the heart of that log. So how long that nail had been there, I don't know, but it was in the heart of that log. That one's a little disheartening, right? You can't predict that. So most people that break blades have other problems. Joe, thank you for that. I think you're right. I've been doing it for 12 and a half years, and that's what I'm thinking. I've broken bands. It does happen. And I watched Kevin break one. I mean, it happens. But I think a lot of times you're at the end of that band's life. That's probably why it broke in our case, because it's rare, extremely rare. Mike over at Wilson Forest Lands, he just pointed out he had a guide roller problem, broken band. So that's an interesting point. Now, I would, I really probably should look at some, silver tips. And I will tell you, though, on the LT40, the G28, so 26.5 horse, if I'm not milling a lot of hardwoods, I find that my 7s are brilliant. They do. It doesn't seem to matter which 7, by the way. I think the 747s might move too much sawdust for me. Though, if I could convince Metabo to send me a fan, I'd actually try one. They have a battery-powered fan, like a shop fan, that I could mount to my mill in the field, and they claim that it had run like 7 hours on a battery. And I'm thinking I could mount that fan to my to my umbrella stand, and just have that fan blowing away on the wood. And maybe if I ran 747s, then the sawdust wouldn't be going straight into my eyes. That's the only thing about 747s, is that they move so much sawdust, right? The 739s don't seem to move as much, and just standard 7s, I love those. They run great. And I like 4s for the wider stuff. Why that is, I don't know, but for some reason I find the wider I go, if I drop down to that 4-degree profile, I cut flatter across the top. Now, interesting, in my last video, I mentioned Kevin is running 17 pounds on his drive belt. I'm running 14 and a half-ish. Wood-Mizer does say 14. So I need to find out if they changed something on the wides, because they might have. he was saying his book said 15 to 17 pounds. And I thought, well, I wonder if that's because it's not the same mill. He's actually a wide head, so he's got 6 more inches of cut, which means he's probably got, 12 more inches of band. And maybe it needs to be a little tighter to drive that. And I never thought about it at the time, but I kind of thought later that might have something to do with it. So if you're a wide head guy and you know the answer, drop that down below. But I found that interesting. I do tend to run 14 and a half to 15 though. But what I noticed is that Kevin's mill also doesn't squawk when he, hits the auto clutch on it. Whereas like mine, it'll kind of high pitch whine, squawk a little bit. Now my brake is solid though. Even today when I was running it, you'll see that when this video comes out, as soon as I drop the auto clutch and take it out of running the band, shuts right down. And that is the way that the brake is supposed to be. Kevin's was freewheeling all the way. And I don't know if he just didn't bother to adjust it. Maybe he likes it that way. But it was interesting watching him. I hope you guys enjoyed watching him mill. I do have one more video. Probably it'll be a little bit less milling and a little bit more spalted, showing you the actual wood that came out of it. But it was really fun watching him run that mill because he runs it so much. It's one thing to be a guy like me that, I might put in, 100 hours on the mill in a year. And a guy like Kevin can put 100 hours in a month. And that there is a difference. We mill very similar, but there's definitely a difference in how he was running the mill. And so it was a lot of fun. And I want to try to get up to Michael Weller. He's probably up around 1,000,000 board feet too. It'd be fun to go film him and see if there's really much of a difference between Kevin and Mike and even myself. That'd be kind of fun. So what else do we got? What time is it here? We're 6:23. We got a little bit of time yet. So drop some questions out here. Let me know what you want to know. And we got Joe here. So if you want to know about bands, that's the guy to ask. That's where I get my bands now. I haven't actually gotten any lately because my back's been out and I haven't been milling very much. So Joe, if you're wondering why we haven't talked in a while, it's because I haven't been doing a lot of milling. I've been filming Kevin mill. But I hope to change that soon. Absolutely hope to change that soon. Do a little sawmilling, little cabin building, little gold panning. Any of you guys out there done any gold panning? I'll tell you a little quick story. When I lived in a town called Ocean Falls, and I may have mentioned it before, but if not, if you look on a map of British Columbia and you go about 360 miles north of Vancouver, British Columbia, right on the coast, you can look for, there's a cluster of 3 little villages up there. One is Bellacoola, that's the biggest, and it's on the mainland with a road that actually goes somewhere. Trust me, that's important out there. And then there's a town called Bella Bella, and it is on an island, so no roads, right? And then Ocean Falls. And Ocean Falls, there are no roads in or out of Ocean Falls. It gets like 240 inches of rain a year. It's seriously like 40 days and 40 nights, whatever. We passed that 2 months ago. But so I lived in this little town of Ocean Falls when I was, 11, 12, 13 years old. And my dad worked in the pulp mill there. And, this is back in the 70s. And so it's not like we had like one television channel, CBC North. And it had a French period of time. It had Inuit or Inuktitut, and it had English. So, you had to catch the English shows if you wanted to understand them, unless you could speak Inuit or something. And sometimes we'd watch those cartoons too. But and I never wanted to learn French, even though they made us. But so anyway, you didn't really watch television. There weren't computer games and cell phones and all those things. So what did you do? Well, you went out and you did stuff, right? Out in the woods. And Ocean Falls was really small. So, Mike Wilson's got his bear stories. Well, Ocean Falls had a population of like 999 people and 1,000 black bears. I mean, it's seriously, you're in the middle of nowhere. You're in bear country. But what I was doing is I really got into geology. So here I was 12 years old. And I had heard this rumor that there was an old gold miner that had a gold mine somewhere near town, but nobody knew where it was, and he died, and he didn't tell anybody. So I spent my misspent youth, running around with little jars in a backpack, going to every creek and stream and river I could find, and getting samples of the sand and bringing them back to the school and looking at them in a microscope. Now, little did I know at the time, you can't just go pull some sand off the top of a bank somewhere in a stream and hope to find gold in it, because the gold's going down because it's the heaviest stuff there and it's going to end up on the bedrock. But that's what I did. And so if you're kind of wondering about the whole mentioning of gold earlier in one of my poll questions, it's because I finally picked up some gold panning stuff this year and decided to do a little panning just for fun, because I've always wanted to do it. It's just always a curiosity. And so I got a chance to do it. And it's really funny because I'm doing it at the cabin where I don't really have running water. I mean, I have a cistern and a well, and I can put some water in a tub or something, but the creek down below me, which was running at the time, isn't where I wanted to do some sampling from. So I was doing it up at the cabin, and I had like a little table. Darcy, bless her heart, she brought this little table out to set my drink on so I could sit in my camp chair and pan for gold in a muddy bucket, you know. But it was fun. I had a good time, and I found a bunch of garnet and a bunch of black sand. So, you know, who knows? But, you know, I'm kind of that person that likes to just go do stuff. Whatever. Want to make something? Let's go forge a knife or something, or let's go do something. I've always been one of those people that wants to just learn things and do things. And that's actually why I got into sawmilling. I mean, it was like, look, we got trees. We want to make knotty pine paneling. Why don't we just like cut a tree down and start making lumber? And that's what kind of started it all. So, all right. Well, folks, 6:27, no questions. So if we don't have questions, we might have to get down to the last little bit here. I just went to check and see if there's a question that I hadn't seen over on the FB site. Sometimes guys will post those there. What's really funny is the last time I did one of these, I had guys starting to ask questions the next day. And I think sometimes lives confuse people because you can go watch it later. And if you're a regular YouTube watcher, you know this, right? The live happens when it happens, but it's available later. But I actually get people sometimes that then will come in and say, "Hey, I'm here. You know, it's Bob. Can I ask you a question?" And that's great. I love that because I do try to answer those in the comments. But I'm always hopeful that I catch those guys ahead of time. And I think the key is timing. I generally do these 5:30s on Sundays, but not every Sunday. And so I'm hoping with my new schedule coming up by the end of next week that I'll be starting to do these at least twice a month. And I'll probably do like the first and third Sunday or something like that, and just set it in stone that I'm going to do them on Sundays, spend an hour, BS with you guys, answer questions, or just chit chat and kind of go from there. So there you have it. Sawmill updates, channel updates. No real questions other than I didn't even get the usual from Desert Hobo or any of those guys what my spirits are this evening. Evan Williams. But Old Forester Statesman, that's my number one favorite. So just so you know, if you ever happen to be coming by with a bottle of Old Forester, I'll chit chat for an hour or three. So, all right, folks, looks like we are about done for the night. So I'm going to call it good, but I will have a new video out Saturday. We'll be on the road, but I'll have it out. I'll keep an eye out for comments, and I'll be working on one on the road to have one out the following weekend. It will be probably a few weeks before you start seeing a new tempo of videos coming out because I will be unemployed, which will be fantastic. And I'll be able to get a lot more content out for you. And I did see another one drop in, so that if you've got a question and you're sitting out there and you just happen to pop in, ask it now real quick before I go. But if you got questions, ask them. I will stick around in case somebody did want to know something about sawmilling. Take it easy, stay safe. See you on the next one. Hey, Timothy, thanks for being here, buddy. Always love chatting with you. Always love your comments. And by the way, folks, if you don't know, Timothy might be winning the comment section. But I love the comments. So anytime you drop a comment in on my videos, I will always answer you. If you don't see an answer right away, it's because I'm on the road, just not available. But I will always answer, just so you know. So, all right. I think we're there. Folks, stick around. Lots more to come. Keep your eye out. And by the way, on my shorts, they might be getting a little shorter these days because I'll be back to making long form more often. But I'll probably be using shorts to forecast long forms that are coming out in the future. So just keep that in mind. Also, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of these 20 to 23-minute videos. I did a poll a while ago, and most people seem to want 16 or 20-minute or greater videos. And so I'm curious if you like seeing a little bit more. I used to try and keep a log into 8 minutes, and I finally decided, okay, we're going to go, let's do it. And I was hitting about 22, 23 minutes. And actually, I was getting great retention, and folks seem to be watching those. So if you like those longer videos, let me know. And if you want to see longer videos, I've been thinking about doing some combination videos. You may have noticed I'm doing memberships now. Don't have any members yet, but I figured I'd throw them out there and have them there. But what I'm doing with memberships is I will be providing other content that is not as condensed. So, sometimes I get a video together and it's 30 minutes long, and I think that's too long, and I try to shorten that down and get it around 20 minutes if I can. Well, one of the things I'm going to start doing is leaving some of that longer content out there, and any of the videos that I put up, and then I decide, you know what, I need to add this or change something or shorten it up a little bit. And so I take it down and put another one up, which if you don't know, I do that. Those original content videos are still up for members to see. So it's more for the curiosity, but it also helps the channel out because, of course, YouTube pays me about $2 a day. So, if someone pays me $2 a month or $3 a month, that'll help out. But anyway, there we go. I'm going to let you guys go. Y'all have a great night. I got to go can some beans. The old Jarhead out.